Welcome to the Foundational Health Podcast, where we provide education and inspiration to help guide you on your journey to look better, feel better, and most importantly, heal better. Hey everybody, welcome to the first ever Foundational Health live webinar. So thanks to everybody who is joining us live tonight, and then also for those of you that weren't able to join us live and are catching this on the recording side, thanks to you as well. Before we jump into this, I'm guessing a lot of you that are on tonight especially are probably already familiar with the fact that we launched a podcast in the last couple of weeks, and then also that we've launched our new Foundational Health website. And really the goal with that website, and this has always been a dream of mine, that Colton, who's behind the camera, makes everything happen, but the dream of mine has always been to have a website full of resources for things that I truly believe in. And when I say resources, I mean not only resources from the standpoint of like shopping and supplements and that type of thing, but also resources for information, how to improve symptoms, how to get healthier. And the website still, even though it's fantastic, it is absolutely in its infancy stages. It will continue to grow in all content. Okay, so we're going to start with a question from Susan R. So Susan says, what are the best bone building foods? So this is a great one. This is one I get all of the time, either in my office or if I do a Facebook post, a live seminar in my office. I get this question a lot. It often comes from women who are going through menopause or post-menopause, which is the population that gets affected most by bone loss, of course. And so the thing that most people know is what bone contains and what you're told by your MD. And if you read online that you need a lot of calcium-rich foods, you need magnesium, those types of things. But there is one aspect that is highly overlooked when it comes to this discussion on building better bones and building stronger bones. And the cool thing about this is it's not only building better bones as you age and stronger bones, but these same rules would apply to building bones in general. So for instance, if somebody has a stress fracture, somebody has a fractured arm or a fractured leg or toe, these same rules will always apply. And so number one is high protein foods. And this is one that's often overlooked, and this especially applies to people that are trying to build better bone health as they age. So high protein foods is essential for countless reasons. Number one, just from the standpoint of if you can imagine two people, one that has really good muscle content on their body, so they've got a lot of muscle, as opposed to somebody that, looks like they're kind of wasting away, has almost no muscle tone to their body whatsoever. Hopefully you understand that the person that has better muscle structure is going to have healthier, better bone structure. They go hand in hand. So the high protein is extremely important from that aspect, but also if you are eating the right type of protein, I'll give you my three favorites, but if you're eating the right type of protein, those proteins are loaded with the right nutrients, bone building nutrients in there, and it's going to give you all of those building blocks to build better bones, especially when you're combining it with some of those calcium, magnesium rich foods as well. So my three favorite high protein foods, number one would be grass-fed and finished beef. So grass-fed and finished beef is, I've said this so many times, and if you listen to my nutrition webinar, you would know this as well. If I had to choose one single food that I could consume for the rest of my life, it would absolutely be grass-fed and finished, or what's often called 100% grass-fed red meat. So I love beef. If I was going to take my overall choice, it would be elk, but that would require me getting out to Montana or Colorado on a regular basis. So for now, it is beef. And the nutrient profile, the differences between a grain-fed animal, grass-fed animal, we're not going to go into all those details, but I can tell you it is hugely different, vastly different. So always source grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And then my second favorite is wild-caught fish. And specifically, if we're going for one, focus on wild-caught Alaskan sockeye salmon. You can absolutely get that at Costco in the freezer section. They have frozen slabs of it. That's where my family gets it. There's also a bunch of tremendous sources out there. And then number 3, for the high protein rich foods that build better bones, would be pasture-raised eggs or pasture-raised chickens. And ideally, organic pasture-raised. But pasture-raised is really the key. If you go to the store, you're going to see all kinds of things. You'll see beautiful pictures of these really nice looking farms, and it'll say farm fresh eggs or free range eggs. Sadly, because of FDA labeling allowances, those things really mean nothing. So pasture raised is what you want to look for. A free range can mean that it's free ranging in one of those chicken barns that you drive by on the highway, and it might have about a square foot range of free range. And so the pasture raised means it actually is outside, it's getting sunlight, it's eating the things that it's supposed to be eating. So that's always what you want to look for in the store when you're shopping in the store. Otherwise, you just need to know your farmer. And so there's not a guarantee if you're stopping roadside and just buying farm fresh eggs. You actually want to talk to the farmer, get to know the farmer, and figure out if it's the right source. And then when it comes to actual calcium and magnesium-rich foods, things like kale, broccoli, spinach, those things are the best sources. And then if you go above and beyond that and you want to look for a supplement, then you want to make sure that you're getting a good bone-building supplement. On our website, we actually, under the bone and joint section, we have a great bone-building supplement on there. That would be under the Nutridyne brand. So great question. Thank you for that one, Sue. Next question we have, Karen W. says, what to do about gut health once it is compromised? Also a good question. And I didn't say this with the last question for bone building, and I won't keep repeating it because I'll sound like a broken record. But really, what foundational health is all about is foundational health, right? It's building a foundation of health and not chasing symptoms. It's one of the passions behind this project is to get people to focus on that foundation instead of always chasing symptoms, whether it's building bones, whether it is trying to restore gut health. And so I'll say this one time, again, I'm not going to continue to repeat it, but you're doing yourself a huge disservice if all you're doing is continuing to chase symptoms. You have to build that foundation either first, ideally, to not have to chase symptoms, but if the symptoms are already there, then you're building that foundation so that you're not only helping the symptoms, but you're also building the foundation for once those symptoms are gone, that you give your body a remarkably better chance of those symptoms not coming back. So that just goes back to the pillars of foundational health. So if we just look, pillar number 1, nutrition, you always want to make sure that you're eating bare minimum. If you're ignoring everything else, just try to eat more whole foods. That means less stuff in boxes and cans and packaged stuff and long ingredient labels. Focus more on a whole food diet. Get more activity in your life. We know that when people walk, when people are doing exercise, that makes a tremendous difference in their overall health, from bone health to gut health, to brain health to heart health, anything that we talk about. Activity is always going to be better the more of it that you get. And then hydration. Probably the simplest thing anybody can do, and one of the most overall or overlooked of all things when it comes to health related. So I had a right before I came here tonight to do this, I was seeing patients in my office, and I had a woman tonight that she said she had listened to my hydration podcast, and up until about 2 years ago, and she's in her mid-60s, up until about 2 years ago, she was a chronically dehydrated person. She didn't even realize it, but she was not drinking, she was drinking 20 ounces of water. And I hear this daily from my patients. So she started adhering to just daily habits, exactly what I recommended in the webinar. And she started doing that on a daily basis. And she said she can't even fathom going back to where she was 2 years ago. So just by simply drinking water throughout the day on a regular basis and drinking a good amount of it, I recommend 50% of your ideal body weight at a minimum. So doing that, she said she noticed her brain fog lifted. She noticed her blood pressure dropped. She noticed her energy improved, her sleep improved. All of these things improved simply from drinking more water. So I would be doing you a huge disservice if I didn't talk about that and making sure that you're doing that no matter what symptom you're going after. So if we get back to gut health, when it comes to gut health, besides everything that I just mentioned, spore-based probiotics is my number one go-to. So when anybody asks me, like, what is one thing that I can do on top of lifestyle, on top of nutrition, if it comes to a supplement, what can I do? It's a spore-based probiotic. The spore-based probiotic, if you like, my favorite one, the one that I use on our website under the Nutridyne tab, and then if you click on the Foundational 4 tab, that's the 4 supplements that I think every man, woman, child on the planet should be on, because it's the ones that we're the most deficient in and the ones that are most important to our body. And one of those is a probiotic. And the best form of probiotic, according to all of the most recent research, is the spore-based. And without going into the science, it's really just simple that if you're taking a regular probiotic, good, and I recommended those for many years, but a lot of the regular probiotics, when they hit your gut, they're not viable, meaning those bacteria and organisms aren't going to come to life and help colonate your intestinal tract. Whereas the spore-based, they find that over 90% of those bacteria, and that's, so if we go back to the other one, we're talking for most of them like less than 10% are viable. Over 90% of the spore-based is viable. And so it won't have all the exciting like 100 billion CFUs on the label, but it is a remarkably better, more effective product. So that would be number one. And then if you're trying to heal a gut lining, my number one recommendation there is L-glutamine. L-glutamine is incredibly healing for the gut. It reduces inflammation in the body as well. And then if you want to throw a few other ones in there, you've got things like aloe and colostrum. Those are fantastic. I do have an upcoming podcast. I think it's going to be released in a few weeks that we already did on gut health. And soon on our website also we'll have the 60-day gut healing protocol for somebody that really wants to dive into that more. Okay, next question we have Shannon B. Shannon says, what can a post-menopausal woman do to increase fat loss? Do hormones even play a big part of that? Or is it just calories in, calories out? Okay, so let's first address the first part of that question. What can a post-menopausal woman do to increase fat loss? And the reason for that question is because postmenopausal women will have a tendency to put on more fat because of the hormonal changes and everything that takes place in the body. And so it's a loaded question that I'm going to try to simplify as much as humanly possible, in the sense that menopause is a natural process that takes place in 100% of women. And that's not me like downplaying anything like that. It's just a really good mindset to have, because when women go to their MD, they often get treated like they've got a disease. It's not a disease. It's a normal process that 100% of women that reach that age will go through on the planet, always have, always will. So you have to come at it from that mindset to get the best results with it. And then when we talk about symptoms related to menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause, those symptoms can be magnified dramatically by somebody that isn't following foundational health. So going back to that, just following all of those guidelines. And then on top of that, to address Shannon's question directly, when it comes to how to avoid that fat loss. So some of it may naturally come, but we know that symptoms with perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, all of those symptoms improve. And this is according to tons of research as well as my experience of working with hundreds of women over the last 25 years. If you increase your exercise, it is going to do absolute wonders for you. So do the basics of just walking on a daily basis, but ideally you're going above and beyond that. You're doing resistance training with bands or weights. You're getting into things like yoga. You can get into cardio training. So any sort of exercise activity that is going to absolutely help with the symptoms. It's also going to help with that fat accumulation. It's going to help you increase the fat loss. And then if we talk about nutritional, above and beyond eating a whole food diet, and this is kind of a controversial topic with some women depending on what you read, but I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting. So a lot of times when I do bring that up with women, I'll get the response of like, well, doesn't fasting and doesn't intermittent fasting mess with your hormones? Yes, maybe a little bit in some studies, but if you're doing it the right way, and if you're doing it on a consistent basis, it actually is the polar opposite. It can help balance hormones. It can help improve those symptoms. It can definitely speed weight loss. And it's probably one of the most powerful tools for people that are seemingly doing all of the right things. And I get this a lot, like, hey, I've been following your nutrition recommendations. I've been exercising more. I'm getting better sleep. I'm doing all of the right things, but I've just plateaued and I can't seem to get through that plateau when it comes to losing weight. And then I'll have that intermittent fasting discussion. So intermittent fasting is just simply you've got a small window of eating every day and a bigger window, ideally, of not eating every day. So for me personally, I've been intermittent fasting for about 7 years, approximately now. My eating window varies between about 7 to 9 hours, I would say, on a daily or on a regular basis. So I, by no means, am setting a timer and I've got to eat at this time and not this time. I don't recommend that for anybody. But if you shorten that eating window to, so for instance, for me, I have my first meal of the day the majority of the time between 10 a.m. and noon. And then I have my last meal of the day usually around 7 p.m. Sometimes if I'm getting home from work late and I'm starving, that'll be up until 8 p.m. But I always shoot for a 2 or ideally 3 hour window before I go to bed. So if you're following that, then you've got like 17 hours, 16 hours, 15 hours of not eating. That intermittent fasting window where you're not eating allows your body to balance hormones. It's reducing inflammation in the body. It's increasing energy process because your body isn't constantly having to work to break down and digest food. I could go on and on and on, but I feel like that's the most powerful tool if you're in that post-menopausal state, menopausal state, perimenopausal state, or for anybody else for that matter. That fasting, and we're going to do a specific podcast on this as well because I'm very passionate about this. And I do see another question specifically on water fasting, which I'll address. But that fasting window, that intermittent fasting, one of the most powerful things that you can do. So great question, Shannon. And then the second part of that question, do hormones even play a big part? I think I kind of just talked about that, and yes and no. Or is it just calories in, calories out? That part of the question I love. So the calories in, calories out mantra, it's one of the things that drives me nuts more than anything else because I hear it over and over. Like, oh, my doctor told me it's just simple calories in, calories out. My personal trainer told me calories in, calories out. And yes, clearly, if you are eating an excess amount of calories and not moving, you're probably going to gain weight. If you're eating a deficient amount of calories and moving more, you're probably going to lose more weight. But it's not as simple as calories in, calories out. It's about the quality of your calories, not the quantity of your calories. So you can take, and this should be really common sense, but actually there's people online that will argue this. You can take a bowl of Fruit Loops, which is about as bad as it gets. There's nothing good in there whatsoever, and there's a lot of bad stuff from chemicals and food dyes and preservatives. You can take that bowl of Fruit Loops, which I have no idea how many calories that is, but let's say it's 300 calories. And then you can take 300 calories of some organic fruits and vegetables and grass-fed meats. Yes, same amount of calories. The way that your body uses them is completely different. And if I just look at one aspect of that on the topic that we're on right now, which is hormones, the Fruit Loops are going to screw up your hormones a lot. The more of that kind of crap that you eat, it is going to screw with your hormones. It's going to lead to fat loss, even if it's not instant from those extra calories. It's going to screw with your hormones, screw up your fat ability to lose fat, whereas the other things are actually going to improve your hormones. It's going to improve the energy in your body, improve the way that you're able to burn fat on a regular basis. So don't ever buy into the calories in, calories out. And this just popped in my head, so I'm going to share it. I find this fascinating. So the way that your body actually loses fat, I'm just going to give this a second so anybody that's listening right now can think about this. It's one of those crazy things that we don't really put any thought into. So the question is, how does your body burn fat? How does your body actually lose fat would be a more appropriate way to say that. Where does the fat go? Does it leave through your intestines, through bowel movements? Do you urinate it out? Like, where does the fat go? So most people have no idea, and the answer is fascinating to me, and it's why exercise is so important. Fat leaves your body in one way, and it's through breath. You actually breathe the fat out. So when you're increasing heart rate, breathing patterns, and of course combined with good healthy food, that actually turns the fat into your body through metabolic processes into gases. And then those gases get expelled through your mouth and nose as you exhale. So if you're increasing that breath rate, you're increasing fat loss rate, which is not only fascinating, but a really important thing to know if you're trying to lose weight. So you combine intermittent fasting with increasing exercise, and I guarantee you're going to see results with that. Next question from Colton W. Okay, so Colton says, with a consistent resistance training schedule, I find my body almost chronically sore. Do you experience the same thing with your training routine? Anything that I'm doing wrong or could be doing better to reduce this? Really, another great question. Yes, soreness is a natural part of resistance training or cardio training for that matter. Your muscles are going to get sore. They're supposed to get sore, especially with resistance training, because you're actually breaking down muscle. So you're actually doing little micro tears in those muscles, and then there's inflammation because of that. This is good inflammation, things that are supposed to happen. And then as those things repair, that is when you actually will grow muscle from that resistance training. So yes, normal to be sore, not good if it's above and beyond. So if it's above and beyond, there's a couple of things that could be going on. And if you're chronically sore, you never feel like you get over that, and that soreness is happening all over. One of two things, potential overtraining, which actually is not that common, but it certainly can happen. The primary, though, is inflammation in your body. So sometimes that inflammation can be the result of the wrong nutrition, or sometimes it can just be the lack of a certain nutrient. One of my mentors, I've never met the man. I call a lot of people my mentors because they really are, whether they know it or not. But Gary Brecka on the Ultimate Human podcast, he talks about all the time, like one of the things he says is, really as human beings, we're not as sick as we think we are, and we're often only a nutrient or two away from being healthy and getting rid of symptoms. And so this is potentially true in this situation. So my number one recommendation, above and beyond all the foundational health things and whole food anti-inflammatory diets, would be making sure that you're getting a good amount of fish oil, one of the foundational 4 supplements. Fish oil is actually more powerful for reducing inflammation and reducing soreness than pretty much any anti-inflammatory drug. In fact, according to most of the research, any anti-inflammatory drug on the market. So fish oil would be the number one recommendation. We, of course, have a great fish oil supplement on our website under the Foundational 4, but that would be the go-to. And then this is something that I incorporate on a regular basis in my post-workout nutrition. And that is L-glutamine, which I talked about with gut healing as well. So L-glutamine is fantastic at reducing muscle soreness. So it's a really or good extra thing to throw in there. Allows for quicker muscle recovery, and you can bounce back better for that next workout. Very good question. And next one we have Trisha T. Oils, exclamation point. Just had someone tell me that olive oil does not get rancid at high heat, and I Googled it and it showed me that it doesn't. I've always understood that it does. Can you give me a breakdown on the best oils to use and the best to use for medium to high heating? Okay, so I'll first address the best oils. So the best oils, in my opinion, are the ones that have been shown that you can heat to medium or high heat. And they do well. It means they have a high smoke point, they often call it. And then that higher smoke point doesn't allow that oil to go rancid. It doesn't change its chemical structure, so it stays good. All of those natural properties stay in there. So my favorite go-to is actually beef tallow. I'm a huge fan of beef tallow. We don't have this on our website yet, but we soon will. I get mine through a website called lineageprovisions.com. I did look earlier today, and actually they are sold out right now, which is fantastic that so many people are ordering it. That is really, really good. For somebody that doesn't, it does certainly add a little bit of beef flavor. My second, and this has been historically my go-to, is virgin or extra virgin cold pressed coconut oil. And then always source that from a glass bottle. You don't want to get that from a plastic bottle for obvious reasons, but if it's not so obvious, it's because those plastics break down and you're eating a great coconut oil and now laced with all kinds of chemicals in it. So coconut oil, most people, even if they don't love coconut oil to cook with. It adds just a little bit of sweetness without a coconut flavor to it. It makes eggs, meats, everything taste remarkably better. So those two are great. You also have things like organic grass-fed butter. That's fantastic at a medium heat point. Organic grass-fed ghee is really, really good. And then avocado oil is also a really good one. When it comes to olive oil, so first I'll talk about a really good source for people that want to source olive oil, avocado oil, Primal Kitchen, which you can get in most stores. We actually have a link to that on our website as well. They've got all kinds of great condiments and sauces if you're not familiar with them. They also have olive oil. It is the olive oil that we use in our home. We don't use a lot of avocado oil, honestly, because we eat an avocado a day, and everybody in our family does. Dressing the olive oil question. So this is a tricky one and might sound a little conspiracy theorist, but you can find this everywhere. Olive oil industry is one of the most corrupt industries in the world. It is largely, this is where it's going to sound crazy, largely controlled by the mafia, believe it or not. As a result of that, they find that approximately 70% of store-bought olive oil, a lot of it doesn't have olive oil in it. Approximately 70% is found to have chemicals, additives, perfumes, non-olive oil, things like vegetable oil and other rancid oils in there that they add these perfumes and colorants to make it look good. So you absolutely always want to source the right type of oil. And I can't say for sure why you're seeing the high smoke point for olive oil and why your friend was able to pull that up. So everything that I've seen from legitimate sources that I trust is that the extra virgin olive oil, which is what you want to source, has a smoke point of around 200 degrees. I don't recommend using it for cooking at all because there's so many other great alternatives. If you are going to cook with it at low temperatures. Otherwise, just using it without cooking, drizzling over salads or over anything for that matter is great. So good question, Trisha. Next question, and this is the other fasting question I saw come in. So we have Rico B says water fasting and the tips and tricks to go through it optimally. Also, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on hydrogen water and the research surrounding that. So hydrogen water is a fairly new thing in the health and wellness world. You may not have even heard anybody talk about this yet, but if you follow podcasts or read natural health newsletters, this is around a lot right now. So the big discussion or the big thing with hydrogen water is, like, most people are like, well, that's crazy. Like, water has hydrogen in it. How can you get hydrogenated water? So it's extra hydrogen because most water is naturally depleted in water. And if you look at a spring source, like a mountain spring flowing down with spring fresh water in there, that is loaded with hydrogen. So it's really just the way water is supposed to be, instead of the depleted hydrogen water that we drink on a regular basis. So there's hydrogen water bottles, which are fantastic. And then I personally, because the water bottle thing doesn't really fit into the way I drink water on a regular basis with electrolytes and other things that I add to my water throughout the day. So I don't use that. I do 1 or 2 hydrogen water tablets on a daily basis. Just drop it in the water, it fizzes up, creates extra hydrogen, you gulp it down. So I use one from Body Health. There's also a link to that on our website. It's also where I get my amino acids. Excellent company. If you want to dive into this, because it's fascinating and there is a ton of research on it, there is a website, really simple, hydrogenwaterstudies.com. And you can get, Rico, you can fill your mind and then some with all of the fascinating studies and the benefits of drinking hydrogenated water. And then the other question, so the water fasting, you specifically said about a 5-day water fast. The best tips and tricks that I have, I've done countless water fasts over the years, and you do absolutely need to ease into it if you're not used to fasting. So one simple way to ease into it is, first of all, start intermittent fasting on a regular basis. Get your body used to that. And then once you feel like you're used to that, then you can start with a 1-day water fast. Nothing crazy. So a lot of times, and this is fairly new for me, but I follow something on a weekly basis called feast, fast, famine. So on the weekend, 1 or 2 days, I've started, I will just eat all day, meaning from the time I get up till the time I go to bed. I'm not following those intermittent fasting rules. And then on Mondays, I don't eat from Sunday night, 7 o'clock till Monday night at 7 o'clock. So I've got that 24-hour window where I'm doing a water fast. And so that's a really good way to ease into it. And it's a water fast, right? So this is kind of obvious, but a lot of people miss this. It means you need to drink water and you need to hydrate yourself well throughout the day. That will do 2 things. Obviously, the more water you're drinking, it's going to allow your body to do the things that it's supposed to do. You detox better during a fasting period. All kinds of things improve in your body, but they won't do that without intake of water. So you want to do proper amount of water evenly throughout the day. That's also going to calm a lot of the hunger pains that you will likely get when you're not used to fasting. I honestly don't even notice it on Mondays anymore. I'm so used to doing this. But that will help you get through it. And then you can ease your way into doing a 1.5 day, a 2-day, a 3-day. For most people, I don't recommend going a whole lot beyond a 3-day unless you're really into a lot of different things. When it comes to fasting, you feel like you've got your supplements under control, you've got your nutrition under control, and then absolutely you can increase those. And in a water fast, we'll do a water fast challenge eventually. I'm a huge fan of challenges, but when you're doing a water fast, you're ideally just doing that, just water. But I've often in the past gotten the question well, what about caffeine? What about coffee? Ideally, no. But, and this is really important, if that's going to be the difference maker, you're never going to go through a water fast unless you're able to get your coffee in as well, then absolutely include that. Do a black coffee. Don't include the creamers. We actually have a great coffee on our website as well. Purity Coffee. It is by far my favorite brand that I have ever found. I don't drink coffee on a regular basis, maybe 2-3 times a year, but that is what my wife uses every single day. Okay, on to next question is from Dana B. The importance of stretching. Okay, so this one can't be overlooked. I mean, it is overlooked often, but it's just so key when you're young to get in these habits. When you're older, if you're not in the habit, getting in it now and then never stopping. It's just as simple as drinking water. So many people are understretched on a daily basis. I can't emphasize the importance of that enough. I talked a lot about different types of stretches, from starting your day with what are called static stretches, or rather dynamic stretches, where it's moving from side to side, going through different ranges of motion to get everything moving in your body, blood pumping, and then ending your day with static stretches. where you're just holding a certain position. I talked a lot about that in podcast number 2, which was on motion. So go to our website, check out that podcast, and you'll get a lot more information. But one of the most important things that you can do at any age, but especially as we age, never lose the ability, I always say, to get off the floor. Huge part of that is stretching, staying limber. The looser your muscles are, this is key, the looser your muscles are, the stronger they are. The tighter a muscle is, the weaker it is. That's across the board with everybody, whether you're an athlete or you've never done an athletic thing in your life. Loose equals strong, tight equals weak. Okay, next question. We have Jennifer R. What are the benefits of vitamin D and the importance of it? So the benefits of vitamin D are countless. The source, first of all, number one, ideally, is getting adequate sunlight throughout the day. So the more sunlight that you can get, it's actually a normal process, a natural process that takes place in your body. So if I was standing in the sun right now and I've got sun hitting my bald head, that sunlight will create a chemical reaction in your skin. It's a hormonal process, actually, because vitamin D3 is technically a hormone. Vitamin D3 over the next 24 hours gets produced naturally by your body. So that's the ideal situation. And then to know if you're getting enough sunlight, if you have enough D3, I'm a huge fan. This is one of the things that I think everybody should test for, because vitamin D3 is so simple, so inexpensive, and so important for every bodily function in the entire body. On our website, on the Nutridyne tab, there is a testing tab on there, and you can order a simple vitamin D3 test kit. I know it's under $50. I don't remember the cost of it exactly. Just a finger prick test at home. You get the results in the mail. You'll find out where your levels are at. A lot of contradictory information out there on levels. Number one recommendation is don't follow what your medical doctor is telling you when it comes to vitamin D3 levels, because they're going off 50, 60, 70-year-old science on what it takes to prevent rickets. So if your goal is to prevent heart disease and cancer and brain disease and all kinds of other things and have optimal health, you don't want to follow those recommendations. You want to follow things that show from legitimate sources that 60 to 90, somewhere in that range, there's really no detriment. No matter what anybody tells you, there's no detriment to being in that higher range of 90 to 100 for that range. But ideally, you want to be a bare minimum of 60. So get the levels tested, find out where you're at, get more D3 through sunlight. And then next, because so many people, especially after you get tested, if you find out that you are inadequate, you don't have a good amount in your blood, then supplementing with D3, K2, and yes, we have that on our website. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but it's a great source, D3, K2. If you're really deficient, go for the 10,000 D3 with K2. If you've got pretty adequate amounts, or you want a maintenance amount throughout the winter, 5,000 D3 with K2. And what it does for the body, everything. But bone health, hugely critical. Heart health, there's tons of studies on cancer prevention, especially women that have higher levels of D3 have significantly lower levels of breast cancer. Women that have lower levels of D3, higher levels of breast cancer. Okay, so we're at our time limit. I am going to address a couple more questions. So this one's from Amanda S. Can you discuss calcium intake and how much do women need, men, children? Okay, so really, really good question. And it's a difficult answer. The calcium intake part, talked about that a little bit in the beginning. I'll hit on that more. So if we just stick with the basics, the more whole food, well-rounded diet you're eating of organic fruits and vegetables, ideally, grass-fed meats, pasture-raised chickens, as well as pasture-raised eggs, wild-caught fish. If you're doing that, nuts and seeds, legumes, like all of that, you're absolutely going to get fantastic sources and the best sources of calcium. And there's a really good chance you don't need to supplement at all. And so then it's hard to say, like, well, what does a woman need? What does a man need? What does a child need? Because if you're eating that, chances are you don't need anything additional. When we look specifically at the most important foods, Things like sardines are fantastic. Kale, broccoli, bok choy, like all of these dark leafy greens. Kale, spinach are probably the most common ones, but things like broccoli are also fantastic for calcium intake. So those are the really, really good sources. And I really can't even give you a number on calcium intake. For one, it varies so much from person to person. Number two, I honestly don't know the exact numbers that are recommendations. And a lot of times I don't even study those because they're off anyway. But if you're sourcing it from a supplement, you want to make sure that it is a good, high quality supplement. Can't stress that enough because they use bad sources of calcium, bad sources of D3, bad sources of iron, all the things that are essential for calcium uptake. And then also one of the most overlooked is magnesium. So calcium really needs magnesium to be able to absorb properly. You do not get that if you are just taking a calcium supplement, obviously without magnesium. You do get that when you're eating a well-rounded whole food diet. You're naturally getting the calcium, the magnesium, the uptake is exactly what it should be. And then I will address one more thing when it comes to that, because this is a huge one, especially living in Wisconsin, the dairy state. Most people think that dairy is a fantastic source of calcium. And it is if you're drinking things like kefir, it's often pronounced, so actually I'm told it's technically kefir, but 100% grass-fed, organic, plain kefir. If you're doing that, it's a great source. If you're doing something like Greek yogurt from 100% grass-fed, again, plain, full-fat, organic, also great source. Milk, which we're told, milk does the body good, drink milk, it builds better bones. The store-bought crap that they sell does not do the body good. It doesn't do the bones good. In fact, it's been shown because of all of the things that they do through homogenization and pasteurization and all of the other stuff, it actually reduces calcium levels in your body. The United States has the highest intake of milk. We also have the highest osteoporosis rates. There's a direct correlation between those two. The more milk you drink, store-bought, bad stuff, the lower calcium goes in your body. If you're able to source raw milk, which thankfully if you're in Wisconsin or some states, you have neighboring states, even if you can't, you can locate great sources in Minnesota and other states of raw milk. And so since I'm talking about that, I'll give you a couple things before we close up here. All of the things that I already said are true when you're looking for store-bought. When you're going to a farm, obviously they're not adding things to it, so it's all the right things, but you want to make sure, I shouldn't say you make sure, but ideally you're getting it from cows that are called A2 cows. So there's A1 and A2, that's the different type of casein. So it's the reason that some people can handle goat milk or goat cheese, but they can't do dairy from cows, and it's the casein difference. Cows, most of them, A1, goats, A2, but then also cows like Jersey cows are an A2 casein. So you can do a great search right on that raw milk website where you're looking for A2 organic 100% grass-fed farms. So that's the three things that I would always look for there. And in the past, and we're actually my family's gonna start doing this again soon, sourcing that and making our own butter, making our own yogurt at home, sourcing it from A2 100% grass-fed organic farms is without a doubt the way to go. Okay, so we're already about 6 minutes over. I am going to wrap this up. Greatly appreciate all of you that were able to get on live tonight. And then for everybody else that is getting on later, listening to the recording, thank you as well. And any questions that I didn't get to tonight, I will get to via email. I'll respond to you via Facebook, however they were asked. And then you can also always reach out to me on Facebook, Kevin Schultz, DC, Foundational Health. And then you can also reach out to me at all times through the website. It's going to come directly to my email. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you for listening to the Foundational Health Podcast. As always, if you would like to learn more about making health your hobby, visit our website at foundationalhealth365.com and follow me on Facebook at Kevin Schultz DC Foundational Health.